now we are going for our fireside chat, finding the right fit and choosing the best marketing automation tools for your business. Please, everyone, welcome with me Mr. Gareth Cameron, Chief Marketing Officer of Davies Consulting Division. Put your hands together. Mr. Theodore Hayes, the Chief Solutions Officer of Ethnos Digital Marketing PVT. And we should also have Mr. Obaid, but if he's not around, I'm not sure if he's around. If he could join us, Mr. Obaid, you are dearly missed. All right, everyone, please welcome these gentlemen with a resounding cheer. Can I hear you?
Hello, everyone. I think we'll start by introducing ourselves. I know Gareth was here yesterday, so you probably know him from yesterday. But a little bit about me to start with. So I work for Ethnos, and it's about a 250 people organization. It's a digital marketing agency. I handle all the MarTech and AdTech solutions at the company, and I have a very big data background. So I pretty much handle the data team. So I've been doing marketing automation for about 10 years plus a lot of different analytics things as well. One of the things about me is I'm actually based in Mumbai. So I live in Mumbai. I've been in India for about 7 years now. So I did 5 years initially with a different company, which we sold to iProspect. So that became iProspect India. And I come back after a stint in London, and now I'm with Ethnos. So taking small agencies and making them big. And a lot of credit goes to the founder over there, Brajesh. So he always drags me back and says, can make this company go big. So yeah, so finding let me hand over to Gareth. Sorry, Gareth, I missed you there.
I think everyone knows who I am from yesterday, so it's fine. So we just
sure. So yeah, finding the right fit for the right marketing automation tool. Now, I was thinking about this in a bit of detail last night, and what I was thinking is actually finding the right tool is really about what you're trying to achieve. So I guess my sort of 2 cents on it was that if you are running some sort of media campaigns, now that whether it be B2B or B2C on Google and Facebook, and you're spending a substantial amount of money over there, then I think you're in the right space to be actually looking at marketing automation. If you're, let's say, not spending much on media and that kind of thing, and you've got smaller budgets, then maybe single channels might work out better for you, such as like an email campaign, a WhatsApp campaign. Now, the reason being is marketing automation is basically omni-channel. You're looking at email, WhatsApp, SMS, and trying to get the customer, I know it's a bit cliche, but with the right message at the right time. Yeah, so, and it can actually grow very, very big, very quickly. So one of the brands we work with is a food and beverage brand, one of the largest ones in the GCC region. And we do something like 260 campaigns a month. It has like a 4-person dedicated team on it. And that's just through marketing automation. We have similar brands as well, like there's an FMCG brand, which is global, that we work with. I can tell you in person after, if you're wondering which ones they are. I'm not sure if they'll allow me to announce them. But yeah, and that's on the D2C side, and we're running something like 40% of their revenue purely through marketing automation. So marketing automation can be like king. Now, the reason why it can be king is because I guess we're moving into an era of first-party data. Now, actually, one thing I've not heard this over this day and a half so far is no one's mentioned the cookieless future. Because I know that's probably a bit of blah blah from, I don't know if the guy was here yesterday, but I know it's a bit of blah blah. But the cookieless future is coming upon us, and it's mainly coming upon us through Google. That's because of Chrome's killing all their first-party cookies. What that really means is that if we are spending on Google or we are spending on Facebook, it's going to get harder to measure the accuracy or the effect of those campaigns. Conversions are going to get a little bit murkier. Is my campaign working or not? And what there's a big shift or movement to is first-party data. Now, that's marketing automation 101. It's basically getting your email from a customer or phone number and using that to then reach out through various channels to that customer. And those pieces of first-party data information is now what Google are going to be using to track your conversions as well. Now, the other thing about marketing automation, which makes it a little difficult to choose a tool, is there's a lot of blend. So what I mean by that is, if you've got a CRM, okay, that can be very similar to a CDP, a customer data platform, which can be very similar to a marketing automation. So the line between marketing automation, customer data platform, and CRMs are very blurred, right? Because they do a little bit of each. So some are, you could say, purely marketing automation tools, some are more channel providers, some are more customer data platforms. So it's very difficult to choose. So I guess before I hand it over to Gareth, one of the points I wanted to make was actually having an idea of what you want to achieve is probably the best step, right? So, and that could be simply finding out where your customers are going to react or communicate with you, or how you're going to communicate with your customer. I guess the last panel is very interesting about the psychographics or segmentation, because we have to actually do that. But it's really hard to not bombard the customers and be creepy, because that's what marketing automation actually generally allows you to do, because you're creating automated journeys based off their behaviors, and then if you do that at scale, you're trying to be as personal one-to-one with your communication. But one-to-one communication at scale means automation. Automation means you're using cohorts. Cohorts means you're therefore not doing one-to-one. Does that make sense? So your psychographical segmentation is super important, and it needs to be at a very granular level. And that's very difficult to then input in, otherwise you are going to get creepy. And so that's a context you've got to play with when you're looking at marketing automation. And I find that the clients I work with, often they either get scared and then they take it to a very first step and don't get very far, or nascent step. So they'll say, oh, let's say if some customer converts, I'll send them an email. Or let's say they've come to the shop, I'll send them a reminder to come back. And then they'll leave it at that, which is fine. But actually, the communication can come across multiple channels. You've got to find out where they want to be communicated to, how, what's the best methodology, and there's huge amounts of opportunity. And so you're balancing risk and being creepy for actually conversions. Because the more creepy you're going to be, the likelier is the better conversions you're going to get. Does that make sense? Because for someone, that's ultimately personalized. To someone else, that's damn creepy. Do you get? So that's the risk and the balance you've got to play. And Ramya said something about having a preference model. And I think that's a really good, important thing to talk about, is actually what preference they should go. Do they want to get email? Do they want to get SMS and stuff like that? So, yeah, so I want to just hand it over to Gareth at the moment. And one of the questions I guess I want to ask him is, like, what's his experience with marketing automation, and what, you know, and a little bit about how you foresee it, and how you should go forward and choose a tool essentially.
Yeah. Well, personally, I mean, I'm not a geek in marketing automation like you. I'm more of a marketing journalist, or generalist. Sorry. The thing for me about marketing automation is the customer journey. So I think it's far more than just sending something to send something. So I've got a belief that you don't post something just to post. What is the strategic intent in doing what you're doing? And I think that's where the value comes, and probably the line is drawn between being creepy or being value added. So what is the strategic intent? And by understanding the consumer journey, or plotting the customer journey, there's a term called service design. I don't know if you know it. If you don't know it, research it. It's sort of like the CX 2.0. So service design is about giving the customer what they want when they need it. So you plot customer journey and you'll understand where the pits and troughs, or the crests and troughs are of that customer journey, and what you need to deliver, and what pain points the customer will have along that cycle. And that's where automation, for me, shows value. So I'll give you an example. When I was in South Africa, I started working at a motor retail company called SMG, which had BMW, Mini, Jaguar, Land Rover, Toyota, Lexus, and a few other brands. And I was head of marketing there. And what I learned was that the customer journey started when people came into the dealership, they kicked some tires, and they were looking at a car. They would speak to a sales exec, they would take a brochure, and they would walk away with a business card. And so the customer journey would start. We would then get their data in, and the automations or journey would start. But with the growth of the online journey, so Auto Trader, CarFind, all the digital platforms, people were coming to us via phone, email, or walk-in, knowing specifically what car they were looking at. So it was no longer a mission-finding exercise at the beginning. They knew exactly what they were looking at. So the customer journey changed. And so what I thought as a marketer, and where automation would come in, was why don't we try and capture as much of the customer before they come in and purchase a car, or before they speak to us, because then that part of the customer journey is now shifted. So what we did was we decided, okay, well, let's create a valuation system where a customer can do their own valuation at home for their part exchange. Let's create a profile for the customer where they could log in, upload the information. It could link the part exchange information. They could link a car that they were looking at. It could give them a sort of a brief outline of what that would look like, an indicative costing, right? And so the customer journey would then start. So it was actually starting towards the end of the deal cycle. And that's where automation was very powerful for us. And we did it so well that BMW South Africa told us to switch it off because we were doing it better than them. And then they rolled it out in South Africa as the pilot program for the world. And it's now being rolled out globally. I should have done that and RP'd that myself. I wouldn't be here today. I promise you, I'd be on a beach somewhere. But nevertheless, that's where automation for me as a marketer is important. And I think that, and I've got this in my keynote speech for tomorrow, but I think it's relevant to today, is that people get confused when they think of marketing because they think of marketing as advertising. But advertising is a byproduct of marketing. Marketing is a strategic function. So understanding that strategic function that we have as marketers will then determine what that end message is, and that's where the email or SMS or whatever those come in. But that's advertising, so it's a byproduct. So what is the entire customer journey? Where are the shortfalls? And that where the shortfall is, that's where automation can help, because it does the heavy lifting, and it allows you to free up time to do other things. I mean, imagine you had to sit there and send out 30 emails a day to the 30 customers that you've spoken to. If you can automate that process, I mean, that's half the battle won. So yeah, so for me, it's all about how the customer journey looks, and then where marketing automation fits in. I mean, if you're a bank, marketing automation is amazing. I mean, who doesn't read an email that comes from their bank? I mean, if you don't read an email that comes from your bank, there's something wrong with you. So there's certain things that marketing automation works amazingly well. But if you're just going to use it to bombard people, there's no strategic intent in what you're doing, and then it goes from being strategic to creepy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I like what you said about the customer journey, because I guess that is actually the crux of it. If I'm going to choose a tool, then where is the shortfall in the customer journey is what Gareth was saying.
So just on that quickly, so there's a book called Play Bigger. If I remember correctly, it's called Play Bigger. The name doesn't actually, the title of the book doesn't actually match what it's talking about, but it's all about service design. So it's a good book to read, because it's all about creating that customer journey. And what the crux of something that comes out of it was there's two coffee shops. The one coffee shop creates an app because they think that their customers will use an app, but there's no value to the customer for having this app. The other coffee shop went to their customers, asked them what they would utilize an app for, how it would benefit their lives, and then people start using the app and they keep on going back to that coffee shop. So service design is not about getting somebody to your coffee shop, it's about getting people to keep coming back, if that makes sense. And that's where automation can work.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. Like the anecdote about the bank. I was immediately thinking, how can I use that now to buy a coffee from your bank? Sort of thing. But yeah, so the customer journey, I think, well, as you were saying, if you look at that, when you're picking out, let's say, what tool's right for you, where is that short for? I think that's actually a better way to look at it. And the reason being is because then you can identify actually what you need rather than, let's say, because I think a lot of people, from my experience, I've worked with a lot of clients who just sort of bring on marketing automation and sort of tick that box. And they say, yeah, I've got marketing automation now, and I've got, got someone to do it, right? And then they sort of left it. And actually, it's all about being integral to your whole marketing strategy. So, like being in digital marketing and being in the data side, what I try and look at is, when we do look at the customer journey, we're looking at the full funnel. How do we get the customer acquisition? How do we retain that customer? How do we drive them down that funnel? All of these issues we need to think about. Now, let's say marketing automation can actually do acquisition, but it can also do retention, and it's actually very good at retention. But if it, half the time, I find that a lot of, in my experience, a lot of the marketing automation practices are not in line with, let's say, if you're doing media, or if you're doing, let's say, spending on Google, or the customer acquisition. And also, there's quite often a problem on client sides, because if you've set, say, for example, marketing automation for the bank, right? Now, there's two sides to that. One is marketing, and one is operations. So quite often, a marketing automation platform might actually be sitting at the operations side of things. Like, if I make a transaction, thank you for my transaction, kind of email goes out, SMS comes in, sort of thing, right? So they've got the operational side of it. Now, maybe banks are a bit more set up like that, but maybe airlines, for example. I know a few airlines where the marketing automation tool is sitting at the operations side and not the marketing. So then when I'm saying, can we send this out? We've done this amazing Facebook campaign, and now we've got a lead, right? And I want to follow up with that lead with offers or whatever it may be to complete their user journey. I have to then go speak to the chief technology officer, and he's just thinking operations. How's this going to operationally help me? So sometimes there's a lot to think about, and joining those two together and having that seamless journey and thinking about where you're going to add value in that journey is really important. And the synergies, if you can get any, between, let's say, your marketing, what you're already doing marketing already, and the messaging you're putting over there, and what you're doing in marketing automation, that's when it's really going to shine. And then there's other things to consider, like, for example, if you've got app, web, so what kind of platform you're working on. So there's good marketing automation tools for web, for example, like MessageBird, or Bird they call themselves now. Or if you're on app, there's like app-focused marketing automation tools like CleverTap. If you need to collect a ton of data and get their intent, that's an amazing one. One thing you can do with marketing automation is get the intent of the customer. So not just get their phone number and an email ID. Let's say if they're searching and they're using a WhatsApp chat and a conversational flow, that intent you can actually capture and put that into your marketing automation. So I know that the guy's come onto a WhatsApp chat and he's looking to book a hotel room. But that hotel room, he wants 2 twin beds, and he has a specific need. Now, all this information can come into your marketing automation tool. Now, this is where you end up getting creepy. Because you take that information, you then say, oh, you want twin beds with like this shower in a specific way, and do you want this on the side and all this? And they're like, what the hell? But at the same time, that could be that could be like, oh, this brand understands me to a T. I like this brand because when I go there, they get me, right? And it's a very fine line, very fine line. So, yeah, I guess I push it over to Gareth and say, like, so what do you think about if you're going to suggest something to one of your clients or to your companies? How would you go about it in terms of like what tool would you use? I guess that's the same question I asked last time, but let me rephrase it. Actually, what do you think is the most important thing to consider when you would buy an marketing automation tool, in your opinion?
Again, it comes down to intent. For me, like, what is the end goal? What is the use case? So Is it hyper targeted, or is it more spray and pray, I suppose. So I think that the hyper targeted side of things, marketing automation is very cool, because like you just said now with the hotel, if I go in and I use the Hilton Hotel regularly, for example, and I'm on the Hilton Hotel rewards program, which I'm not, but should I be fortunate one day in my life to be there, they'll build a profile for me, and when I book, it will be, hello, Mr. Cameron, here's a room, this is how you like it, whatever, and that's value, right? And such like in our organization, Davies, I work for a company called Psionic, and we were just bought by Davies, so we actually became Davies in November last year. And we are doing a whole integration from IT perspective, moving what we have from Psionic over to the Davies world. And having a look at that whole infrastructure and ecosystem, it's a very daunting thing for a marketer to go into, because you take what you have and what you know into a world which you don't know. So the marketing automation functions become challenging. I suppose when you're choosing a product, I suppose understand the use case. One of the speakers previously spoke about how emails are getting blocked now because of filters. So if you're going to get an email system, are they whitelisted, or do you have to whitelist the IP, or do you what is it that needs to happen? And then also understand, I suppose, what the core function is of what you're trying to achieve, and does that system facilitate your use case? So, I mean, it could be something as simple as Hootsuite, for example, which helps you automate your posts across every single platform. So are you writing one post that can disperse equally across all the platforms, which frees up time, and time's money. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, it might save you a head in your staff count. So, or it could open a junior marketing manager or digital marketing manager's role into doing other things instead of having to post 10 posts in a day because it's automated. So I suppose one thing that I look at is efficiency within my team. And it's not to say that I'm a drill sergeant. I'm not by any means, but I look at efficiency. So if, for example, there's 5 of us in a meeting and the technology is not working and the meeting starts 5 minutes late, we didn't lose 5 minutes. We lost 25 minutes because there's 5 of us. And it's not to say like, oh, it needs to start and stop at the right time. No, I'm not a drill sergeant. But the thing is, what I'm trying to say is efficiency matters because it's cost. So where automation can help save cost, I mean, Hootsuite, I think, is like £1,000 a month or whatever for our platform that we've got. But that £1,000 probably saves my marketing department £6,000 in a month. So there's many different factors to look at what marketing automation can do, from cost savings right the way through to customer engagement. Where it does work very, very well is we do a lot of webinars and seminars and all these different things, because we consultants, we management consultants. And what happens, which works well, is we can build a customer journey that allows us to invite people, they accept, or they decline, or they do nothing, and that follows a different path. So if they accept, it follows a warming up funnel towards the event. If they respond no, it's sort of like 1 or 2 more like bites of the cherry to try and get them across. If they don't reply, then there's a different thing. As I say, you haven't replied, can you please reply, or whatever it might be. But the idea is to get them warmed up to attend either our webinar or seminar or an event that we're attending. So that's where some form of marketing automation works very, very well. But the idea is understand your strategic intent.
How would you do the sort of cost-benefit analysis then? Because I guess I totally agree with you on the efficiency front. Mm-hmm. Because you're saying there the quick calculation, 5 minutes is actually 25 minutes in a meeting. So, and I guess a lot of the marketing automation tools for, let's say, small to medium businesses can be quite prohibitive in terms of cost, right? So if you're taking, like, say, a Mo Engage or one of those bigger, or a Salesforce, for example, Salesforce or Eloqua, they got a substantial cost to it. So have you got any thoughts about how you would do the cost-benefit analysis? Because if I'm a small company or a medium company, then I need to have, obviously, the revenue to come out the back of it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that's a very, very good topic. So, I think you need to scale with the size of your business. So, for example, if you're looking at a CRM, HubSpot has got a free version of a CRM up to a certain amount. If you're looking just for normal like CDP, I mean, I'm not an advocate for MailChimp at all, but I do know MailChimp has got like up to 2,000 users, and it can serve a purpose to a small business, right? So it's not to say that there's got no use case. But I mean, HubSpot is free up to like 5,000 users. And HubSpot's a very good system if you use it correctly. Then, there's always a cost associated to doing business. So a CRM is so vital to marketers. And if you don't think it is, then I think you need to go and get your blood pressure checked, because it is so important to what we do. And it's not just about collecting data. The panel earlier spoke about people just wanting to collect data. It's not about just collecting data. And they were so right in what they said. It's about building a profile. And also about understanding. So we work at the same business, for example. Tomorrow you leave. All of your IP leaves with you. But if it's on our CRM, it stays, it remains. Somebody else can pick it up. And that the IP doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the business. So that's where a system like Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or something like that is so vitally important. So that is a cost associated to doing business. I think where the cost value there is in that intellectual property. I mean, you can't put a price on that really, and that's why these companies charge the amounts that they do, because they know that without it, sort of the backbone of the business isn't there. I think where you look at small cost versus gain, that would be on the more the extra added-ons such as Hootsuite or some video automated software or whatever it might be. Because, for example, we could spend £20,000 in an agency to do a few videos for us a month, or some reels or whatever it might be, or cut up a few things. Whereas if we had a automated software that we could use, it probably cost us £6,000 for the year. And so there's a huge saving, right? And I'd rather take that saving and plug it into Salesforce.
So I guess one of the things I would add to that as well is like, you can get a huge saving, but I guess there's a deployment aspect of it. So if I have someone who's doing, let's say, email campaigns manually or SMS in the team, and then I'm going to move to something like a tool which is going to then automate that process. Now, obviously, it's a bit like when you have we had an example earlier yesterday of a content. Oh, was it the host? Content writer to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT taking over content writers' jobs. Now, I had a sort of bit of a sidetrack here. I had a thought about that actually. Now, yes, the argument is it's actually AI plus human, so therefore it's not taking over. But actually, what it is doing is, if I have 100 content writers, right, and now I got AI on top. Okay, so then I'm now producing. If a content writer puts 100 articles a day, they're now producing 1,000 a day. Now, how many articles do I actually need? So there's that. I don't think that's one thing people thought about. And when you're deploying technology, you've got to think about that as well. So if I have two people who are doing marketing campaigns and I deploy a technology, now that one person can now do 10 times the amount. Do I actually need the other person? Do you see what I'm saying? Now, there's a thought I'm thinking about this, though, and where people do go wrong, is the scalability. Now, maybe content writing is not so scalable in terms of, like, if I'm doing 100 articles a day, and maybe for an SEO thing, now I can do 1,000, is there advantage of doing 10,000? Does that make sense? So, so the scalability on retention or marketing automation can be there. That's one thing that people don't realize. And so that's one thing. That's one of the biggest problems or the misses I see in clients. They start with marketing automation. They will then deploy a small team or half a person or an FTE something, half a person doing marketing automation and leave it. And that I always think is a crucial mistake, because if you are, let's say, making efficiencies in your team, I think there is actually, when you do change management, there is going to be additional cost. There is going to be a decrease in efficiency initially as you get the tool deployed, and then if you've got it in mind to scale it and reach targets and objectives with that tool, then you can actually then come out the other side looking rosy. If you just deploy it and go, oh, this is going to work for us, I think there's uptake, skills, and all that to come in play. So, like, for example, how long did it take you to get used to HubSpot? And was it like a switch-on thing? Or, because you come into a new company, right, and you start using HubSpot, and you're like, what the hell's that, sort of thing?
Well, I think CRMs are very similar, whichever. So once you've used one, like, you can use your logic and get around the others. So, when I was at SMG, BMW has probably got one of the most complicated CRM systems ever made. It's built in built in SAP. I mean, like, SAP's not a CRM, but anyway, they built it in there. God only knows how they managed to do it, but they did it. And hyper complicated with a lot of rules. So I think, from there to go into HubSpot, Salesforce, Dynamics, it's easy enough to work your way around. It might take a day or two, but you'll get there. So I understand what you're saying in terms of deployment and things, but it's also important to remember that I think what I've noticed is that the demands on myself and my team increase. So although AI comes in and it can be helped to be more efficient in delivering more, we are becoming more and more time poor. So the reliance on the ability to get things done quicker at a great standard is becoming more important for us as a team, especially as we ramp up and do more and more and more. And that's not to say that we're doing more of blogs or more articles or whatever it might be. We're doing more events. We're doing more face-to-face. We're doing more client engagements. We're getting out into industry publications more, which means that our time for writing blogs and articles and LinkedIn posts, etc., that's something's got to give. What's the opportunity cost? And therefore, having the ability to use a chat GPT, for example, to do the research for our writing, I will never allow my team to publish something that is written in AI because it just sounds too generic for me, and I can see it from a mile away. So, but it just helps get across the line a lot quicker. So, I don't think that by having it means that we need less people. I think it just allows us as a business to pivot and focus more on client engagement, especially from a B2B side, than spending 50% of our time creating content.
Yeah, I guess it's quite interesting because if you look at B2B versus B2C, they're very different needs, and the consumer journeys are very different. And B2B, we do actually do a bit of marketing. 20% of our organization is revenues B2B. And so we do a little bit of marketing automation. And it just occurred to me how different it is in terms of B2C. B2C is a lot more scalable, much faster, where B2B is a lot more precise. You have to really get as much information about the user on your platforms and their preferences, X, Y, Z, and then do what, essentially. And so that could be obviously email, it could be a LinkedIn, it could be whatever, but you're kind of building B2B marketing automation there's actually less automation almost, because you're just building a picture of the user, or we may become a person and their company and their background, or the psychographics, if you like, and using that. So plugging that automation in is a little trickier, I would say. Would you say that you would do most of your marketing automation is B2B at the moment? Or?
Well, I work in a B2B business now, but I come from a B2C background, and what I notice, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, is that B2C is very much taking the product and putting it in the consumer space. So I come from the motor trade, so it was about taking cars that we sold and putting in the consumer space and hoping that something lands, right? Whereas B2B is more conversational. So it's about building a conversation, being part of a conversation, being a trusted advisor, letting people engage with the content that we have, and then they'll hopefully use us. HubSpot does that very well, by the way, if we're going to speak about HubSpot. I mean, they create a lot of marketing content that's not even related to the product that they have, but it's because what they want to do is they want to keep marketers inside their ecosystem. And that's something that they do very, very well. And that allows them to scale the use of their system.
I think one of the great, I know there's a lot of Indian people here, but one of the great things about being in India is they have a lot of replacements, if you like, for HubSpot and things like that. Or the startups have come in and they have an Indian pricing. So if you are looking at marketing automation within, let's say, APAC region, there is tools out there which will come at a way lower cost than a Salesforce or a HubSpot and have similar functionalities. Like I think one we're using at the moment is SharpSpring. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's similar to a HubSpot, but the pricing is a lot more affordable. And the Clever Taps of the world, I knew the founder. When I was in India 10 years ago, I knew the founder. I was speaking to the founder in an event like this before I even started the thing, and it's now gone up in price since I last spoke. But that was actually relatively, it was aimed at the Indian market and things like this. And so I think just putting it out there, I guess, if you are looking for something, and I think we've only got a few minutes left, if we are looking for something as a tool and you're worried about price point, do have a look at the Indian market. There's a lot of startups there. Now, with the risk of, let's say, SaaS startups, are they going to still be there in 10 years? Is this scalable? Are they going to... But there is a lot which have actually got the funding. They have got critical mass to not go bust, and they are still startup mentality. So what that means is you can get them on for a cheaper price, and also you might have needs that are outside of the box, if that makes sense. And those types of companies are willing to build those APIs, cater for those needs and things like that. So we partner as agencies with a lot of these companies. So we have like 5 or 6 marketing automation partners on board. So we resell and partner with some and do the services for others and things like that. Now, as an agency, we're like tool agnostic. So what we try and do is fit the client to fit the tool, the best tool for the client's needs. We're not coming in to rip up one to sell the other, if that makes sense. So that's just a point I want to close on. If you are looking for something, and you are in the GCC region or APAC region, stuff like that, do look around, because some of the major brands they're great, and they've got a lot of history and things like that, and they're going to work, but they can be, especially things like Salesforce, they can be prohibitively expensive. Unless you're unless you're an enterprise and you have that kind of weight and money to throw around, then maybe having a look at some other tools might help.
I think also another good use case to research as a case study, I suppose. There was a lady yesterday who was up here speaking about Yandex. Yandex is unbelievable. Like, it is streaks ahead of Google, of Bing, anything you can think of. I mean, it is just unbelievable how integrated that system is. From search engine to maps to paying for your parking through Yandex to ordering food, clothing, like Amazon. On everything that you can think of from a digital need is on Yandex. It's unbelievable. And if you look at how they automate their processes, and it's beyond sending an email to a client or sending a SMS, it's about the customer experience. And they use automation so well to, if you go and ask somebody who's living in Russia now, if they could survive without Yandex, impossible. Absolutely impossible. But they've done it so incredibly well that the automation across all of their platforms is so seamless and so integrated in people's lives that it just makes sense. It's like, I suppose, those who are on the Apple ecosystem you can't get off the Apple ecosystem just because you're integrated into it. But But the index is so much more. It's like your lifeline, and they do it so well through automation. It's unbelievable. And I think the most important thing is to understand as marketers that automation is not about sending an email. It's not about sending a thank you for subscribing. It's far more than that. And if you think about it holistically and strategically like that, I think it will make far more of an impact to your business.
Yeah, sure. I think we've got 1 minute left, so I think you can put the questions to the floor, if you have any. Yes, ma'am, I think you might want to grab a mic.
Hi, interesting panel discussion and lots to learn that I'm taking away. Just wanted to understand, you did talk about the intent, that one can set the intent, and the question about if it can get creepy or it can get the other way. How are some of the ways you can capture this intent of the consumer and use it for marketing automation?
So now this is actually where you've got to be, this is some of the smarter stuff that we do as an agency for clients. Now, it's actually going to be depending on what platforms you're using. Now, intent, the best way to get intent is depending on how you're doing your WhatsApp conversational flows, because that actually can get your intent. Now, what we're trying to do at the moment is we're actually building a web, I'm trying not to be sales pitchy, I'm trying to just explain what we're doing to get the intent. But what we're doing, we've got this web search AI tool that we're building. The idea behind it is what happens is if you go to WhatsApp and you have that conversation, half the time the options that come up are not the options you want. So you end up trying to find, where do I speak to the guy, right? Do you have that experience? So that can be really irritating. And that's like most of the time you end up on a phone and you go press 1 for, like, how do I get to speak to a guy? WhatsApp, it's not what I want. How do I get to the thing I want? So the idea behind the web search AI, what we're doing is in the search bars of websites or apps and things like that, when you ask questions there, you get a chat sort of GPT experience back. And the way the experience has been handled is just taking all the information that the business has from the website, the business data, and feeding it into that platform. And so then what happens is when they search on the web itself, that the response is very human, and it's exactly what they want. And so then immediately what happens is you're changing from a conversational flow into a conversation. And that whole conversation then gets recorded, and you can do that recorded against that WhatsApp chat or that user ID. Now, what we do to do that, rather than say, let's have someone read a conversation, we just basically have buckets, right? So if it's saying, I'll take the hotel example. They have a conversation about booking. So then I bucket into booking, I bucket into reservation, I bucket into cancellations, whatever, complaints, and things like that. So when the conversation happens, what I'm doing is tagging the user with these data points. And then they become my intent data points. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. But in a cookieless world, which we just heard in the previous panel, and in the world of first-party data, would we be still continuing to do these bucketings and markings?
Yeah, so cookieless, okay, so what's going to happen with cookieless world, where people are getting confused, is cookieless world is basically your third-party cookies are killing, is because they're getting killed. Now, the reason they're getting killed is because I could be, let's say I'm an advertiser, you've just popped into my website and disappeared. Okay, now I'm going to bombard you with my advertisements all over, right? You've not asked for it, you didn't want it, you're getting bombarded. Okay, and so what's happening is you're going to all these websites, and that's the third-party cookies, because when you came to my website, you've got the cookie, and then it becomes third-party when you go to all the other websites, and you're getting bombarded. Now that's what's getting killed. So what data you collect is first party. So that's number one. So the cookieless future, any data you collect about your customers is yours. That's number one. Now, number two is the privacy problem. Okay, now, when you start having these conversations with your customers, especially online, It's very, especially if you want to be creepy in the marketing automation. Now in India, one thing I like about India is, as an analytics person, we haven't really got privacy down. So for me, it means more data and I can be creepier. But when I was in UK, it's much harder to operate because I have to then abide by GCPR, CCPA, and for brands, don't get me wrong, that's the right way to go. Right? It's not do what I want to do and follow people around the internet. That's not the right way to do it. Brands, you want to get that trust, you need that authenticity and all that, which means that, as I think it was Rana said, we need the preference center. And when you have that WhatsApp conversation with the users, make sure that they are subscribing to the conversation. They don't mind, they're getting the information they require about how you're going to use their data. And when you're going to retarget them, it's like with marketing automation, you're probably going to do it back on WhatsApp. So the idea is you're taking these, they've already subscribed to have a WhatsApp chat with you, and then you're taking the intent from that WhatsApp chat, and then you're just going to use that intent to then have another conversation. Not here, buy this now, promotional offer, come back, 20% discount, me, sort of thing. Yeah, so that's the way we've got to work.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions?
Hi, that was amazing discussion about automation and the tools that you guys are using in marketing and kind of agency. So would you mind suggesting any automation tool in terms of building landing pages which has its own email marketing apart from ClickFunnels?
Yeah, I know. Okay, for building landing pages and to do email marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think there would be two separate tools, really. I'd have to bring them into one. Okay, so building landing pages, there is a lot of creative tools out there. In terms of off the top of my head, I'd probably have to think about it and come back to you in terms of that. Because it's not in terms of marketing automation where I'm sitting, on my space, I'm sitting in the more the communication sort of side of things. Not the creative piece is something that I do know of. But let's connect afterwards. I think that's the best way to do it.
No
Because we
worries.
connect afterwards, I can get you the answers straight away.
Thank you.
And if I get a bit more of a brief, I can probably figure out a much better way to do it.
Perfect.
Hopefully.
What are you creating land pages for?
I mean, websites.
Yeah, but I mean, like, is it for a product or is it for?
I mean, the product and the services.
Does that product sit on your website already?
Exactly, yeah.
Then why are you creating a landing page?
I mean, sometimes, client has a different requirement, depends on niche to niche. Let's suppose for a dentist, we need to create a different website which has a short landing page in terms of, that has its own email marketing, like name, details.
The reason why I ask is just from a consumer journey perspective, and I'm very big on consumer journey, as you might have gathered, is if you got to try and get that person's information within like 2 or 3 clicks, right? And if there's a landing page, it adds another click journey.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got it housed on your website and you can create a new page on your website, or also you must remember that if it's on your website, it helps you with your SEO. So if you can house it on your website, rather do that. Land people on the website rather than a landing page. Because also, if you're on the website, if you're on the landing page, for example, and you click through and it takes you to the website, you can't go back to the landing page unless you go back through the email or however you directed people there through your advertising, right? So they have to go back through the advertising to get to your landing page.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Which is not the best customer journey. So if you can land people on your website rather than land people on your website, that's my rule of thumb. I've tried many times with landing pages, and a landing page is it's just another step in your advert. And it's just one more. I mean, if you take it out, I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, okay.
If you can house it on your website, house it on your website. That's just my rule of thumb.
I would sort of say with this one, I just added caveat. It's, so I'd agree with him for the 100%. I would try and get your website landing pages to be able to cater for different channels. But one thing I do know, it's actually quite an Indian thing, is they have a landing page do or die scenario is quite popular. And it does work in a lot of single channel applications. So for those, you go to put an email, go to this, now, because what's happening is they're really trying to focus down on that one channel and optimize that one channel. Where, now, this is not, this works on a short, so if you're doing, now this happens because of the, I'll probably explain why that happens later, but it's not a bad thing to do. If you are doing a landing page, I would agree. If you can get your landing page to be super optimized, add it into that website, that's the best way to do it. But that requires CRO, or conversion rate optimization, and a lot of data processing, someone to think about it, creative process, upgrading it over time. So then when you run your email, you run your paid search, you can all come to the same place. That's ideal. But if you're not super optimized, it's actually quite cheap to just put up a landing page, which is a do or die situation, which is buy the product, give me your lead, or go away, that sort of thing. And so you can optimize that very quickly for your Google Ads or your email, because you can then do, it's just one-to-one. Do you see what I'm saying? Where SEO and paid together is a much harder thing to do, because SEO you have to stuff the keywords in, so it's optimized for SEO, but then you need, let's say if I'm running an ad with this communication, I need that communication to come into the landing page as well. So you have a dynamic landing page essentially.
Exactly.
And so that's why they do it. So, but yeah, so that's okay. We'll chat after, I think, because I think this.
Thank you.
Will be, if I carry on, we'll be here till tomorrow, and I'm next anyway. So you got round 2 of me.
And that's all the time we have for questions. But everyone, once again, I highly encourage you to take a picture of the screen. As you see, you will find the names of our speakers, all of them, even Mr. Obaid in the background. Please search them up on LinkedIn, connect, so you can collaborate in the future. Who knows what can come out of this? And everyone, put your hands together in a massive round of applause.
Gentlemen.